You're listening to The Sister Trill with Danae and Kiveli.
Hello and welcome back to The Sister Trill. I'm Danae.
And I'm Kiveli.
And we are finally recording episodes again. As you can tell, this is a purely audio episode because what happened was that we stopped recording because we started having more concert engagements again. Corona was over and we were just traveling so much and we couldn't really find the time to sit down together in our home and actually record with the camera and the mics.
So after lots of discussing and soul searching and deciding on how we can still make it happen, we decided to buy some travel mics so we can actually record the podcast on the road, and we decided to release audio versions now instead of audio and video, because in this way we can really just record whenever we have like an hour free. We're actually planning on recording episodes backstage when we have time before concerts, so we can actually do it more frequently and release episodes weekly again.
Yes, so this episode is also one that is going to be recorded on the road. We are currently in Munich, and today we are playing a concert and we are just sitting on a bed. So the episodes are going to become much more informal, and maybe you're also going to hear that in what we're going to be saying. And yeah, I think we should just get right into it. So first of all, what did we disagree on this
year?
This year,
Basically,
we
didn't disagree on anything this year. I mean, I'm just going to take, I think, our most recent disagreement, like from 5 minutes ago. Basically, this is like a bit new technology for us because we bought these microphones that you can just attach to your phone and then record straight away. And the audio quality is, of course, better than if you just record with your phone. However, Danae and I are both not necessarily technologically versed in an amazing way. So I was like, hoping for some technical expertise advice to make sure that we don't maybe record an episode and then we forget one detail that is maybe an obvious detail to take care of, and then like the whole episode is not usable. So that's why I'm like a bit nervous to do these things without any advice from someone who I know knows what to do, and then I can learn it and then I can do it by myself. And Danae is more of the let's just do it. So I've been kind of a bit reluctant, I think, to record this first episode without first maybe understanding the technology behind it a bit better.
Yeah, I think this ties into one of the previous disagreements that we've already mentioned, that you like to have everything set up in a perfect way, all the preconditions to be there, perfect technology, perfect circumstances. And I believe that sometimes holds back from actually doing
and that's
something.
Totally true. Yes.
Yeah, and getting into something, and I'm just more of a doer. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And we'll learn along the way if something doesn't work.
I totally get it.
Yeah, I mean, now we've waited long enough, so it's coming. The episode is happening.
Absolutely.
And I think what I wanted to mention with what we disagreed on was also kind of similar, because I feel like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I've been pushing the continuation of the podcast a little more than you
You're
have.
Totally wrong.
I'm wrong.
You're
okay.
wrong. You're absolutely
but
wrong.
I feel like, I've been pushing let's look at equipment, let's order equipment, let's actually record. And I feel like, you haven't been in it as much as I have, but now we're doing it.
Yeah, I just think it's this thing that because we already had the break, I didn't want to restart it in a like suboptimal way and then have another break two episodes later, because let's just say we decided to record an episode at home and then we're again on concert tours. So I don't want to like restart it if we're already making that step where we're starting it again, then we restart it properly.
Yeah.
And we actually do it regularly again. And we don't
But doing it regularly is up to us. It's up to us and our actions and plans.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we're doing it. We're getting into it, and this episode is a very juicy one, I think.
Yes.
The subject matter is very juicy.
I think the interesting thing when we were talking about this topic is that we have been, I would say, discussing on it for many, many years.
Yeah.
And you've, I think, pretty much stayed consistent in your opinion. More or less.
Yeah.
And I have definitely fluctuated a lot. Definitely also because I was seeing, how you were interacting with this topic, and also because I grew up and I tried out different things. But it has always been something where I think our natures are kind of different, but because we are, able to change our opinions and also influence each other, we've kind of gotten closer, I would say, throughout the years on this topic.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so the subject is basically relationship models, and very specifically the open relationship model, what this entails, how we feel about it, what our experiences are with it. And I just very quickly, within 2 minutes, prepared this episode, and I just researched some facts as well that I think are quite interesting. And I want to start with, the most common relationship, which is, of course, a monogamous relationship, just with the definition of monogamy, because I find it very interesting. When I Googled definition of monogamy, what came up were 2 definitions. And the one definition is the practice of having a romantic and sexual relationship with only one person in your life, which is what monogamy actually is. You abstain until you get married, and then you get married.
Like the Christian version
Exactly,
of it,
the Christian to one person forever. And then there is today's version of monogamy, which is basically the exact same definition, only with only one person at a time.
At a time.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So you can have many different monogamous
Of course,
relationships.
that already kind of brings us to the heart of the conversation, the exact translation of monogamy from Greek actually only relates to the sexual aspect of it. It's,
to the married. One marriage. Monogamy means one marriage.
Yes, but one marriage.
And of course,
but
it's supposed to be only within marriage that you have sexual relations.
Right, okay, I would say that.
Because it goes hand in hand, I think.
Because, of course, this whole idea of monogamy is where, what is the thing that is exclusive to your one partner? Because obviously sex is mostly a given between monogamous couples, but then there is a huge range of interactions you can have with another person, flirtation, one-on-one time, other types of physical interactions, long hugs or whatever that, that for many couples don't fall into, you're not allowed to do it. Like, it would be a very, very conservative relationship, one where, for example, the partner is not allowed to spend one-on-one time with a person of the different sex or same sex, so with a potentially romantic person. That exists, that relationship model as well. But most people, I would say, in Western cultures that have monogamous relationships would not include that in, something you're not allowed to do. Nevertheless, sexual flirty dynamics undoubtedly happen in these type of interactions as well. So it already kind of brings us into what is exactly the thing that we are so afraid of, or that we deem inappropriate for other people to do in a monogamous relationship.
I mean, as you say,
where is the barrier?
Yeah. As you say, it differs from person to person. I mean, what is it for you? Where is the barrier for you where you would say this is where the monogamous relationship ends and, let's say, cheating happens?
I mean, first of all, cheating happens whenever trust is broken. So cheating can happen in a polyamorous relationship just as much as in a monogamous relationship.
In a monogamous relationship, where it's clear that you're supposed to have relations with one partner only, where is it that rule is broken for you personally?
I mean, for me, if I were to choose a monogamous relationship for myself, which is one thing that I'm thinking about a lot, I would say that the simple answer is any type of beginning. It's like sexual interaction starting with kissing. That would be something. The physical, but I would say that I would definitely include in it, if I were to have a monogamous relationship with my partner, that if my partner is giving more energetic attention to another person than another person, like more energetic attention oriented towards a romantic type of situation than me, that is also already
So you would say cheating. Emotional cheating, what is called emotional cheating.
Yes, and I would say that, of course, at the end of the day, the emotional reorientation is much more detrimental to a relationship than the sexual reorientation, although the sexual is so much easier to define, and therefore that's like, okay, you did that, boom. Like the other thing is, okay, you spend an hour on the phone with someone, what is there exactly to get, because it's much more gradual, the emotional reorienting.
I believe that, of course, it's kind of clear the physical thing is where the line is crossed, but I also believe that the physical thing is, of course, only the end of a journey that has been building up. And as
or
you
the
say,
beginning sometimes.
I feel like if you start prioritizing someone else over your partner, and you're in a monogamous relationship where it's clear that your partner is supposed to be your number one, and you start canceling plans with your partner in order to prioritize someone else, or you start buying, I don't know, greater gifts for someone else rather than your partner, I think that's when it starts getting blurry.
Yeah.
And for me, also one big thing is if you do it in secret.
Yes, of course.
I think
of
if you
course.
do something and you feel like it's something that you don't want to communicate
Yeah.
because maybe for your relationship model it's actually
Yeah.
wrong.
Yes.
The
I think that's-
secretive thing
yeah.
is when
I think
cheating starts.
that's a very, very good sign and marker
Yeah.
for if, you know, something might be murky or not. Is
Yeah.
if your partner didn't tell you about it,
Yeah.
why didn't you tell me about it?
Exactly.
You know? If,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, I looked for some stats around this cheating
Yeah.
aspect, you know, how many people have cheated. Of course, that is basically impossible to find out.
Yeah.
But there have been various studies where, you know, people anonymously have said what they have done. And I looked for the one that is it's called the higher end study, which means where people included everything. You know,
Okay.
like the maybe also emotional cheating,
Yeah.
things like that. And what came out was that 75% of men, it's a BBC article, by the way, and 75% of men and 68% of women in a monogamous relationship admitted to cheating at some point in their relationship.
In any one of those ways.
In a way that for them felt inappropriate. Whatever that means,
Yeah.
you know, that includes the hyper conservative people that might have had dirty thoughts,
Yeah,
and that includes also the very open people that actually
Yeah.
went and did stuff. And also, it says more up to date research suggests that men and women are actually at the same rate. It's not
Yeah.
really true that women are underneath that
I
number.
don't think that either.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a quite high
Yeah.
percentage.
I mean, there are two things that I always think about instantly when you speak about open relationships. One thing is that is there a good argument to be made that monogamous relationships are superior in a way? And for what are they superior? For example, are they superior for child rearing? Are they superior for long-term happiness versus short-term happiness? So, like, you know, these are questions I have. And then the other questions I have is, how realistic is it to live a life with a monogamous relationship of, say, 20 plus years without any proper interest in someone else?
I love that question.
And I would say highly unrealistic. And then how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? Do you expect a sacrifice? You know, that would be monogamous. Do you kind of say, the less you pay attention to it, the less it happens? Or do you just let it happen, but monogamy means that you just don't do it? You know, so I don't know.
Well, I personally believe that it's unrealistic that a monogamous relationship for, let's say, 60 years, one that is really for the whole life, is a truly fulfilled relationship. I believe that it is possible, for sure. And I believe that in a certain generation, in my mind, that's always kind of the generation of our grandparents. That's kind of, you know, the one that really lived that, and probably also before, where it was kind of unheard of to not be in that type of relationship. They did it, and they kind of successfully did it in the sense that they stayed together. However, I do believe that a lot of these relationships were miserable, that they involved huge sacrifice from both parties. Also, I do believe that people did wander, you know, just in a very secretive way. Or if they didn't, that, you know, something else was triggered inside of them, some unhappiness. I will just come out and say that I don't think that we are made to be completely monogamous. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think that we are made to be with one partner for a long time. We are looking for that one companion. But this rule of zero cheating, one person forever and ever, I don't think that's what we're made for.
If I'm just, you know, if I'll play devil's advocate for a second, I also don't think that we're necessarily made to be non-aggressive beings. Nevertheless, we've, you know, found out through civilization that not, you know, playing into our aggressive impulses is superior and makes us, I would say, happier than playing into our aggressive impulses. So I think the nature argument, although very compelling, is not necessarily one that, you know, can be taken like that. Okay, we're not made for it, ergo we shouldn't do it. I think that's why I was asking the question, is there something, is the sacrifice worth something? I mean, I would say person I look up to the most that is a huge advocate of monogamy, where, you know, I actually pay attention to what he says, and I take his advice, I would say, to heart, although not necessarily that means that it's the best thing for me, Jordan Peterson makes the case that, you know, it is a sacrifice. It's not at all the nature state to be in a monogamous relationship, but through this, you know, really getting to know someone and making the sacrifices for each other, you do reach a level of closeness and also, you know, satisfaction in yourself that is incomparable. And that, you know, the fact that, you know, we live in a much more promiscuous society and all these open models and not really committing has actually led to our generation of people being less happy in the realm of relationships than, for example, the one of our grandparents. And that, although I don't think that that means that open relationships are worse than monogamous, because I think that the fact that we are unhappier is also because of, you know, we don't want to commit. You know, open relationship doesn't mean not committing. It just means committing differently. But that there is something to be said that this complete, you know, cornucopia of options and opportunities that we feel we have nowadays has not led to a happier, more fulfilled life around relationships than the much more conservative stay together with a person no matter what. Or at least it's not obvious to me.
I also believe that the probably happiest form sometimes is the simplest form.
Yeah.
And I believe that monogamy, also maybe because it's the one we know best, because it has been practiced for so many years now, is in a way the simplest form. The rules are clear.
Yeah.
It's black and white.
There are a lot of them.
There are a lot of them. And it's kind of also a thing, you know, girls meet together and say, oh my God, he cheated. You know, it's a thing that is universally accepted. Okay, now he cheated. He's a bad guy. She cheated, you know, she's a bad girl, whatever. It's kind of simple, and simplicity and understanding leads to comfort, which leads to happiness, safety, exactly. So I do think there's also an argument in that to say that it is the simplest, clearest form. And then of course also the question comes into play: what type of a person are you? You know, do you want it all? Are you satisfied with less? Are you satisfied with the I don't want to say it, you know, in a degrading way, the simple life, but are you satisfied with the simple model?
Yes.
Sorry. Oh, no, I just wanted to say that a very interesting number that I found is that in 2022, which is when this study was conducted, it said that monogamous relationships on average in all age categories, so including the teenagers to the old people, last 7 years only today, while open relationships last only 5 years. So monogamous ones last longer, but 7 years is not so long.
And by the way, when you were saying what type of person, what I've come to think, like my opinion has shifted in the last years from, I would say, a much more open relationship, like happy open relationship is more of a myth. It's people that are afraid to commit to each other from that, you know, much more a cynical approach to open relationships, to now, which I would say is a general view I have of life, which is obviously open relationship means more freedom, but more freedom always means, in relationships as well as everywhere else in life, more responsibility.
And more trust.
More trust as well, but also, I mean, more responsibility. You have to expect more of yourself, more honesty, more transparency, more, you know, uncomfortable conversations with yourself, with your partner. So the truth, I would say, is that an open relationship is harder than monogamous relationship, which is, I think, often seen differently. Like open relationship, you can do whatever you want. It's harder. It takes more responsibility, more effort actually in each other, but the payoff you get is obviously more variety and availability of experience. And that's often the payoff, you know, in all life. You know, you want a harder job, you have, or you know, more, I don't know, more fame, or I don't know exactly what, you're more success, more adulation. Sure, work more and you'll get it, you know, but some people don't want that trade-off. Some people want to have the ease of not having to have these uncomfortable moments, which is perfectly fine. You know, it's the same. It's this payoff of safety, freedom, responsibility, opportunity, all these things.
And I want to get back to that big word trust, because I feel like many people say, but if we were in an open relationship, I would not be able to trust you. Whereas I believe that trust, for me, what trust means is that you trust someone to make the right choice, to make the right decision. For me, trust doesn't mean, okay, you are not allowed to do this, and I trust that you will respect my rule that I just gave you. But trust to me means I will give you complete freedom, and I trust it's up to you now, and I trust that you will make the right decision.
Mhm.
So I feel like if I am in an open relationship, then I trust my partner to choose whatever he's going to choose wisely. I
Mhm.
trust him to come back to me and to tell me what he
Mhm.
did and to make the right choice for our relationship.
Mhm.
So I feel like trust actually has to be higher. And I feel like this, what is often called trust in a monogamous relationship, is actually
Control.
it's control.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
absolutely.
it is nothing to do with trust.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that two factors that are also very important is, first of all, I think many people, I do think that there is this type of couple that has an open relationship because one person wants it.
Which is
Or-
dangerous.
Exactly, like
Yeah.
one person kind of, I don't know, feels suffocated, and then the other person just doesn't want to lose the person, so
Yeah.
says okay.
Mhm.
And then what basically happens is a gradual, growing of dissatisfaction from
Yeah.
the one person, a gradual distancing from the other. So I think there is a lot to be done wrong if you
Mhm.
decide to have an open relationship.
Mhm.
And I think also where it might get a bad reputation from,
Yeah.
where it's kind of like this Hail Mary, before we separate, let's try that, or before I
Yes.
can't have you at all. And then the other thing is, and I think that's where a lot of open relationships also kind of don't work properly, is, you said trust in your partner, which is extremely important, but even more important, and the one where I'm like currently trying to find out if I have that level of trust, is trust in yourself.
Mhm.
And
Trust, you mean that you can
confidence
handle
in
it?
yourself. Not
Or
that you're enough.
that you're
That
enough,
because
okay.
the first question that comes when I speak about open relationships with people that maybe don't subscribe to that or don't like it is, what if he meets someone else and likes
Right.
them more?
I always hear that
And my
question.
thing is, well, if they like them more, then they should be with the person they like more and not with me. Obviously, I mean, that you don't want your partner to stay together with you because they are not allowed to consider someone else. You want them to stay together with you because they choose you.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I do understand that sometimes, infatuation is not the same thing as proper, meaningful love and partnership. And that what if they lose their way, they get infatuated with someone, they mistake it for
But
something else, and
here's,
then
here's where I come and say, if I'm in an open relationship with someone and they get infatuated with somebody else, I have the ability, and our relationship model has the ability to give them the space, time, and the
Mhm.
room to explore that infatuation. And I'm still here, happy and loving, not with a grudge, not angry,
Yeah.
not insulted. And they can come back to me. And once they realize, okay, that this was just an infatuation,
Yeah.
that was that, and our relationship goes on. Whereas if that infatuation now was, the one step that is really the
betrayal,
the betrayal means
Yeah.
the end for us, then he would have to leave me
Choose.
and he
Yeah.
would be there, and then later on he would realize it was just an infatuation.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. But that's what I mean with the great trust in yourself, because you have to retain your trust in yourself and your connection,
Yeah.
despite the fact that in those weeks, moments, hours, days, his or her priority is clearly somewhere else.
Yes.
And you have to have trust in them to, come back to you, and also in yourself,
Yeah.
that, what you offer and what your relationship
Mhm.
offer is so valuable that
Mhm.
can withstand that moment.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I think this level of trust in yourself is difficult,
And it
because
comes with time.
It comes with time,
Yeah.
and because it's also confidence is flimsy.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got more confident days, you've got less confident days,
Yeah.
and I can imagine if you've got a less confident phase triggered by, I don't know, a career difficulty, and then this happens as well.
Mhm.
You have to have a lot of strength.
Which then once again comes into the trust that your partner will know that you're having a difficult phase right now and choose to maybe not do that in that phase.
Yes.
But
yeah.
I think what would be fun is to now go into the different types of open relationships, because I found 5 fundamentally different types. And then once we've discussed them, we can, say which ones we have lived and experienced and which ones we would maybe choose.
Okay.
Okay. So the first type that is the most common one, apparently, which I wasn't aware of, is swinging.
Okay.
Swinging is, amongst people that practice open relationships, the one that is done the most.
Mhm.
And just for anyone that doesn't know, it basically means that as a couple, as a committed couple that you are, you consensually exchange partners basically only for sexual purposes. So either you go to a different couple and you exchange partners, or you do, threesomes, foursomes, or something like this as a couple.
Is it a given that it's always in front of each? Like, is the sexual experience? No, it
it's
doesn't
not a
have
given.
to be together.
And
Okay.
it's interesting where it originated from, because it says it began as a practice that was called wife swapping among U.S. Air Force pilots after World War II.
Interesting. So,
So it was there. It was simply the wives that were swapped. So basically, two couples came and exchanged partners.
Yeah.
And then went back to each other.
Mhm.
So swinging never is supposed to involve emotional stuff. It's purely sexual, and it usually is a mutual thing where a couple exchanges.
Because the only thing it would like this that it satisfies is basically the curiosity to see, how is it to have sex with a new person? So that's why you do that.
Yes,
that's
the curiosity. Well, I also think it's, of course, a big adventurous aspect that comes with it. And I think especially if you have a very, routine everyday life, if then suddenly on the weekend you swap partners with someone, I think that spices things up quite a bit in a relationship. I mean, I've personally never experienced that type of interaction with a different couple. But I think it's interesting. I find it interesting also because it's kind of it sounds like it's supposed to be a given that both wives are then interested in the respective partners.
I mean, I would also, I think, I've met one like routine swinger, one that was like married to someone that had like a swinger relationship. And there, of course, now also apps and everything where you can just find, swingers. And of course, you choose them together. I mean, I don't know how it was with the Air Force pilot wives, but of course, as a couple, you choose a couple you find attractive. And the way that I've understood it, which is what I was asking, is that obviously there is the just, everyone doing their own, like the two new couples doing their own thing. But sometimes, it does involve all four people.
All together.
Engaging with each other. And sometimes even with the men having maybe a bisexual element or curiosity that they try, although that is the least, I would say, common
I mean,
consequence.
What I like about this model is that it is definitely, it takes the partner with you. There's zero secrecy about it. There's not one person that wanders off to a bar looking for an adventure. It's totally consensual, and you are experiencing the adventure together. I think that's a big element of it that takes the fear away also. Because it's not, okay, just one person and I'm at home in fear, but we're just both having fun, coming back and bringing it into the relationship. So I mean, I've never tried it, but I think it makes sense that that's the most common one.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one is polyamory.
Right.
So polyamory is a relationship style that allows people to openly conduct multiple sexual and romantic relationships simultaneously, ideally with the knowledge and consent of everyone involved.
This is the one I'm least, most skeptical of, least trusting of.
So tell me your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I do. I think it's also a question of time and energy. I mean, I think a good relationship, no matter whether it's monogamous or whatever, requires and deserves, I would say, time and energy. Deserves is the right word. I mean, the person you love deserves your time and attention. And I would say that there is a correlation of, the more time and attention you give the person, the deeper it gets. I think there, of course, there might be some sort of cap, but it's far away. So in having the time, the energy, and the personal wherewithal to follow through with that with multiple people, I think is a bit of a utopia. Unless that is all you do. Like, for example, if it's a living community, right, where it's just everyone all you do is just work together on the field and love each other and exchange loving moments, I can imagine that. But if it is within, the framework of maintaining a stable career and let's not even say have kids, which is another thing, I think that becomes a bit harder to maintain. And then, of course, there is the other version, which is like, more of like one man with multiple wives, where it's like one household with multiple people. The one household with multiple people, I mean,
I mean, this what you're just saying, it was also discussed in that article, because with polyamory, of course, also comes polygamy. And as you say, one man with multiple wives, polygyny, is practiced most in Muslim countries, where one man just has multiple wives. And then there's also the opposite, polyandry, which is very, very
rare.
Very rare.
Yeah. And then, of course, I mean, for me, it would also be, of course, with people that are bisexual, you know, just different constellations, not one with multiple, but, you know, 4 guys, 3 girls, kind of, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the sexual aspect aside, for me, just like what you said, I find it very hard to imagine that you can equally love people. For me, I think there has to be at least a main couple. Yeah. You know, like a primary couple. Yeah. Because, as you said, I don't think I could open up and be vulnerable with someone on that extreme level when I know that he's doing the exact same level of vulnerability with somebody else as well. I think that would be hard for me. That's where my jealousy, let's say, would kick in. Or maybe not even jealousy, but just insecurity. I would feel like, you know, my innermost secrets that I'm choosing to share with him only will make it into a different relationship as well.
And I think that in these Muslim, for example, constellations, I don't think that the primary motivator in those relationships is love.
Yeah. And having said that, the polyamorous relationship have only an 8% success rate. So I guess that's not the highest percentage.
And I think that, I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, and I don't want to get into cliches or let cliche form my opinion, but many times when I think about people that practice polyamory, I might wrongfully immediately associate it with like a bit of a hippie lifestyle,
a bit of a phase,
or people that, for, you know, I don't want to say lost because they don't have a career, because that is a very condescending thing to say.
Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily true.
No, but I would say people that are less inclined to follow long-term goals and more inclined to live in the day, you know, and live a very short-term, pleasure-oriented life.
I understand what you mean.
Which, to be honest, sometimes I find a very admirable lifestyle to have, and I wish I could let myself fall into it. I mean, my anxiety would immediately kick in. What's going to happen in 5 years, in 6 years, in 3 years? Yeah. But, you know, this very kind of moment and carpe diem, I would say, oriented life. And I don't know whether that is so compatible with many other goals that most people have. Like, for example, long-term safety, I don't know, buying a house and building a family and career success. It's an interesting, you know, vision, polyamory.
Well, now we're getting into 2 other open relationship styles, which are kind of tied to each other and very similar. One is actually called the open relationship, and the other one is called monogamish. And so monogamish relationships are those in which a couple is primarily monogamous, so there is that main couple, but allows varying degrees of sexual contact with others. So basically you have that thing, but you might go and have a one-night stand with someone else, or you know, something like that, make out with someone in a club. And then the open relationship is that of a long-term committed couple again. So there's the primary couple that takes on a 3rd or sometimes 4th or 5th partner whose involvement and role in the relationship is always secondary. So that's very clear that it's secondary, but the point is that in the open relationship, that partner can be recurring. So you might have someone that you meet up with on a, you know, more or less regular basis, and that you might also like as a person. It's not just the purely sexual one night stand.
The monogamish is just sexual.
Yes, only that, and it's very much, you know, someone unknown, someone that's not really in your friend circle. Yeah. The open relationship is someone that where he's recurring, and he or she is someone that you might meet up with even for lunch and might be your friend. Yeah. So it's like in a way a second relationship, but of course it's clearly secondary to your romantic
and maybe more phases.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that's the thing that we would also define as an open relationship. I think the interesting thing is that I think we don't, when we think of it, there is no rule outside of I would say, one primary rule, which is complete honesty. And I was wondering, by the way, when you were saying that there are these different types of relationships, whether that would be a factor, because I have heard of a type of open relationship that I would say disagree with, or I think is a recipe for disaster, which is the thing where everyone can do what they like, just don't tell me.
But they know that they're doing something.
It is kind of it's known that both parties are allowed to engage in other things. Very much there is the primary relationship, you know,
yeah.
but we don't tell each other
Yeah.
anything. Like
I
it should be
also
kept a secret.
find that
That's the one
difficult.
where I'm thinking to myself, like, what are you satisfying here? You know, like you're just afraid that they're not going to make the sacrifice if you don't let. So, you know, I don't know. This is one where but that was not a model that was given. Yeah,
it wasn't a model.
So
the only thing that was mentioned was cheating. So basically, but that's not an open relationship to me.
Yeah.
If someone just goes and wanders without the other party knowing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that a real open relationship, no matter in which way, is based on people knowing that it is known to both parties.
And I would say that exactly the only rule insofar is that everything is communicated, everything is kept honest, and maybe, you know, if it's a completely new element, it's discussed beforehand, maybe, you know, like if so I would say within monogamish and open kind of is also
hand in hand,
fluid and goes hand in hand, because maybe one person, you know, it starts off as a sexual encounter and then things happen again or things like that. So for me, I would say that has potential for success. For me, the primary relationship element would be very important. I would say that at heart, I'm a bit more monogamous than you, or maybe the idea of a monogamous relationship doesn't I would say deter me as much as it does you. Nevertheless, I can totally see the beauty that openness can bring, the variety of experience that openness can bring. For me, very interestingly, swinging, the way it was said, wouldn't even count as an open relationship. Like, I've always been someone, although I don't have, like, you know, huge amount of experiences with it, but I do feel that I'm very honest when I say that I was always someone that in an ideal relationship pictured encounters with other people together, that you know, pictured because I find that,
well, it's listed as an open relationship because strictly you're having sexual
with another
relations with
person.
someone
Yes, I understand. Yeah. But I think that for me, like, the beauty of open relationship, maybe a bit romanticized in a way, is that love, romantic, sexual energies are such a beautiful thing to feel and such a beautiful thing to let out into the world, that it is a shame to limit them, to have like rules that limit them. I think that, as with everything that is as potent and powerful as, you know, sexual energy, love, amorous energy, things like that can be very potent, therefore also dangerous, therefore also can, you know, take away your focus. So you'd have to be very aware of how you handle them. That's what I meant with you. It needs a lot more care, a lot more responsibility than a monogamous relationship where everything is just kind of a set and a given, where you can, what you can do and what you can't do. But I think that if you are able to live a relationship type like that, if you're able to give your partner the level of security and safety needed for them not to get jealous, which I do think happens in open relationships as well. By the way, that's something we should talk about, how to deal with that. And you're also able to keep yourself honest, you know, and responsible how to engage with these other people, then I think that it can lead to very beautiful experiences that maybe I would not want to miss. So that's why I'm considering it, you know?
To me also, this, what is here described as open relationship, is the one that I would gravitate towards, and is also the one that I have by far the most experience in, as you know. And yes, as you say, it's not always easy. It's not simple at all. And I remember the very first conversation that I had with a then partner, where we, let's say, confessed, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, where we told each other what happened outside of this primary relationship, was not easy. It was very uncomfortable. And I remember that in the first 10 seconds, something inside me really went like, oh my God, you know, is this bad? But then very quickly, like in a matter of minutes, once details were shared, I felt such a huge level of closeness and such a huge level of trust that was also put into me. And I thought, wow, we are right now, we got closer to each other. Because he told me some intimate details about things that happened, and he brought them into our relationship. And that made me feel very special and very important to him. And
Interesting.
and that's, I think, a very unexpected. It was a very unexpected element for me.
I don't necessarily understand what you
Well, because
meant how that happened.
well, because it's as if he takes you with him on that adventure, and then he lives that adventure. He comes back and he brings that adventure to your relationship. It becomes part of you
Okay.
two. That's how I feel it is. And then it's not something that he lived with a different person and you're out of it, and that person has a privilege that you didn't have. It's the opposite. He lived something with that person and he brings it into your relationship, and now your relationship has the privilege of having that extra influence and that extra adventure that it otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah, which brings me to two other things that I always found also very important within the framework of open relationships, which is that the other people or person who is not within the primary relationship are aware of the fact that everyone is aware of what's happening.
Yeah, I think
so they're aware that or
I think that always varies, of course, according to which rules the couple has set. But in my experience, but in my experience, like the rules that I have set and that we have set in my relationship is that the third person has to know that the other person exists, and also that the other person knows that this is happening. Of course, the partner has to know immediately. And also another rule, but that's just our thing, is that if we are together, the two of us, then of course we are the most important people. So if we have an evening planned together, I'm not going to sacrifice that evening for the third person. It's more if something happens because I travel a lot or because he travels, it's something like that. Then it's not forbidden. There are no rules, but it's clear that and it has never even been a question, that we are committed to each other.
It's never even been a rule that had to be said.
Exactly.
Like, I don't want you to.
And
that's the trusting the other person to be, to go to take the freedom honorably.
Especially in the beginning when we were navigating it. We explored it more than we are right now because we try to, see where the boundaries are. And I think that's also when we realized it doesn't mean an open relationship doesn't mean anything goes. It just means you still make responsible decisions, but just the framework is a bit looser or, broader. And I think it's, well, for me, it's definitely the relationship model that has worked the best, by far.
And the other thing that I've always thought about is that I think an open relationship can keep you more honest with each other, sharper with each other, and also can maybe be a good signifier to see when the relationship is potentially going off course, when like maybe something is not satisfied within one of the partners. Because I think that you told me two things once that I found very interesting. The first thing you said is that obviously the question comes up, okay, what did that person give you? Why that person? It's not necessarily what didn't I give you, but and then sometimes it's as simple as the person gave me the butterflies of a first encounter, or a first kiss, of a first time holding each other, or it can be something just you weren't there and I was having a very connection desired day or something, which can also just be a thing. But sometimes it's also that person, I don't know, cooked for me 5 times and you never cook for me.
Exactly. And then
that's
you start talking about
and then
that.
you start talking about the fact maybe it would be nice to have evenings where we cook for each other. I don't know.
Exactly.
That's a very simple thing. And I think that can kind of keep you, not just keep things fresh, but can monitor if really, you're making your partner that you love as happy as you could make them.
And, a question that I get very often when people find out that I'm in this type of a relationship is, oh, well, what does that mean? Have you had encounters with 200 people, within the course of 5 years? And then it's always very funny to say, well, actually, no, there were very few people. And I think it's also important to mention that just because you have the freedom, it doesn't mean that you constantly use it. Because once you have it, also, I think the need to use it becomes less sometimes. Maybe that's also not with everyone, not the case for everyone, but for me personally, if someone tells me you cannot do something, I want to do it.
Yeah.
And if someone tells me you can do something,
Yeah.
then that's a good base for me to think about whether I want to do it.
Yeah, I mean it's again this, trusting the other person to use that freedom responsibly.
Exactly.
We said we began also this with also the question, how realistic is it to have a 20-year relationship without developing an interest in other people? It's unrealistic, but you don't develop interest in other people weekly.
Exactly.
Like if you think about your single life, especially if we're talking about, connections that are actually memorable and not just relieving a physical impulse or something.
Yeah.
It's not like every time you go to a party, you meet two people that you would desperately want to connect with,
Yeah.
It's special to meet someone that you feel
Exactly.
like you want to connect with.
And I think also, because you said relieving a physical impulse,
Yeah.
maybe one should mention that it's not just about relieving
Yeah.
physical impulses.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if we go out and actually, I mean, speaking from my personal experience, if we go out and actually do something with someone, then we feel like it's worth bringing that person into our energy.
Yeah.
It's not just going to be the random
Yeah.
hot person to relieve the physical impulse. But
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and then there is one last open relationship type, which I have never heard of. I just found it now. And I found it super interesting because I feel like it's something that you could resonate with on some type of level.
Okay.
It's called relationship anarchy.
Oh boy.
And I'm just going to read out the definition, okay? So, relational anarchists are often highly critical of conventional cultural standards that prioritize romantic and sex-based relationship over non-sexual or non-romantic relationships. Instead, RA, it's called RA for short, seeks to eliminate specific distinctions between or hierarchical valuations of friendships versus love-based relationships, so that love-based relationships are no more valuable than platonic friendships. Each relationship is unique and can evolve as participants require. Well, Kiveli, let's talk about that one.
Well.
Wow. I mean, are you an RA? Because I never had a word for it, but are you a relationship anarchist?
Well,
In a way.
I mean, I have lots of thoughts. I mean, first of all, I think that it's unrealistic that a love-based relationship can, or that the friendship can get to the same level as a love-based relationship, because, of course, the sexual connection gives something so potent and intense and intimate to the experiences between two people that an incredible conversation over drinks just cannot replicate.
Yeah. Having said that, I just want to say that Kiveli and I have coined the term love friendship because we never heard about that.
Yes,
but
that's
because Kiveli really says that her friends, or said maybe up to now,
No,
or
I do
still says,
stand by it.
and feels that her friends are basically people she loves the way I would love a romantic partner. And that's why we have called them love friends, friendships.
Yeah, love friendships. No, but for me, I do. There are friends, people that, they're not my family.
Yeah.
That absolutely I love. And, and for me, loving means caring about their happiness and being absolutely clear with yourself that you're willing to invest a lot of energy also in their happiness, for them to be there for me and me to be there for them, not just when, huge, dramatic, life-changing misery
on an everyday
hits me,
basis.
but, on an everyday basis for small things that, so that you also invest energy in the relationship, make sure that maybe you go on holiday every now and then, or you, see them regularly. Yeah. And those are not all friendships. Most friendships are more
How many love friendships would you say that you have right now?
That I've had or that I have?
Okay, both. First, that you have right now, this instant.
I would say maybe 4.
4. And how many have you had in total in your life?
Maybe you add like another 4 or 5 to them.
Okay.
But of course, one has to say where they came from, right? Okay, so I would say that I grew up not particularly comfortable in my family life, and not getting the type of love and unconditional support that I think I naturally wanted to. So I sought out unconditional support and love from other people, from friends, and not from friends, more plural.
I just want to specify that she doesn't mean me.
No, of course I don't mean you. Of course, but you know, I and it's right. So I sought that out from other people, and that meant that when I grew up, I specifically had one, and then maybe as I got a bit older, 1, 2 friends that were
Everything
that
to you.
support system for me. They were the people that gave me security when I felt insecure. They were people that I did important first experiences with, getting drunk, things like that. So these people were important because they replaced something that I felt I didn't get from family.
But now comes my question.
Now wait. So that's the first thing. And then the other thing is, I have very long friendships. I cultivate friendships that don't just half a year, but very. And of course, someone that I think of that has been in my life consistently since I was 15 years old, and now I'm 26. I mean, and I've known him since I was maybe 11 or 12. I mean, this has been a person that has been a part of my life for half my life. Yeah. So obviously this person, I don't just have, of course, I've got love for this person. It has been a part of my life.
No, I think everyone agrees with that.
That is a love friendship, if you will,
But now comes my question. Now that you have, let's say now someone else comes in, an actual love interest, a romantic interest, a sexual interest. So now would you put that on the same level as your most important love friend? Because that's what a relationship anarchist would do.
I think that it has also a time aspect to it, right? First of all, I think that when you meet someone that you share, that you share a connection with that includes the sexual and potential for love and for things, of course, it takes your focus and your energy like nothing else does. Because as I said, you have, of course, you can have a cool conversation and watch a movie together connection, but you also have you can explore intimate fantasies, desires, which of course is unparalleled. This type of connection is unparalleled if you compare it to anything else. The only thing that can, I would say, be equal to this intimate, exploration type of connection is time, is a history, a shared history. I think that I have shared history with people that have created a level of deep connection that of course can compare to this love that you share with a romantic interest. Now the clue is, though, if now you have this person that you've fallen in love with and share the intimate connection with, and then you create a history together. Now you are with this person for 2 years, 3 years, and these 2-3 years are much, much more experience filled than your love friendships. Of course, then it becomes the competition is not even a competition anymore.
So basically, at heart, you're not an RA.
I don't think.
I think you're the closest thing I've ever met to a relationship anarchist. But yeah, I also believe it's completely unrealistic, as you said, because it's impossible to share that type of intimacy with someone else. And I mean, I think you have set the bar very high for friendships and love friendships. And if you cannot do it, I don't understand how someone can do it. But I thought it was interesting that actually exists as a concept. Yeah. Well, these were all the open relationships that I found and that we could discuss. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic. I think we've already said where we stand, where each of us stands. Yeah. I think we can conclude the episode. I'm just thinking, what do we always say in the end? Oh, yeah, we share a story about each other.
We share a story about each other.
Wow. Okay.
I actually have a story.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I'm not prepared.
It's a story we were talking about yesterday, which is that I think there was one time in your life where you properly gave monogamy a chance, where you really, really tried for a monogamous relationship.
To make it happen.
And I think within that relationship, there was one guy that you met, a conductor, who I would say for you probably is like the height of perfection in terms of wanting to have an experience with him. And this person, you met this person showed interest in you, and you said no. because you remained monogamous to your partner at the time.
Biggest mistake of my life.
And I think to this day, you think it's the biggest mistake of your life. So I think there's a pretty good indication that you gave monogamy a try and it just wasn't your thing.
And I still regret it.
And you still regret it? It's funny.
Yeah, that's a good story. Okay. I'm trying to think along the lines of love friendships, but I cannot think of the story.
Maybe because they're just normal friendships.
Yes, so my story is not really one event. It's just interesting for me to see how you are right now considering prioritizing a sexually based love relationship over your love friendships, because I've known you as someone who prioritizes your love friends so strongly all your life, and now with your birthday coming up, I think it's interesting to see how you're planning this event really so differently from the other years, where you were always focused on the friends aspect, on making them happy, creating a big cool party experience,
usually having letting them all sleep
sleep
over my
all
place,
sleep over in your room and in the house, and creating a big pajama party or whatever. And now you're actually thinking, oh, maybe I'll take that time for myself with someone else. And just that shift, I think, is interesting, and I'm very curious to see where it's going to go. Yeah, so that was that. We hope you enjoyed our comeback episode about the open relationship concepts that exist.
And now we'll be recording some more episodes on our little concert tour.
We are back on it. We're going to record a lot of episodes, and they're going to be coming out weekly, just like before, just without the video, just audio only. But we'll see. We might still upload it to YouTube just with a still image. Yeah. So, see you next week. And lots of love from Munich.
Bye.
You're listening to The Sister Drill with Danae and Kiveli.